Zynga plans to sell 100 million shares for as much as $1 billion.
The internet radio company raised its IPO price range, giving it a value of almost $2 billion.
Analysts have been valuing the company at up to $9 billion.
Groupon went public and gained a $12.65 billion valuation through its initial public offering.
When Facebook went public, it was a big company, but on paper, it was even bigger, valued at a whopping $104 billion.
We are in the midst of a revolution. The way business has been done for decades is changing, and it's changing fast. Never before have companies been able to grow so quickly and reach such record amounts of wealth than they are right now. And it's this phenomenon that we're going to explore in this video as we show you exactly what possible new ways of creating income and meeting our financial needs that we couldn't have even fathomed just 3 years ago. Ripplin is at the forefront of exploring this new bridge between tech companies and the users who populate them. Inside this video, we're going to explain a brand new concept called incentivized sharing. Now, this new concept has the power to change how new websites, apps, services, and products get distributed today, while at the same time revolutionizing the distribution of that wealth. We believe that it's time for the people who are responsible for sharing these companies to participate in the extraordinary wealth that's being created. This video is about that, plus so much more. So sit tight and make sure you can focus right now. We don't recommend you miss a word. So let's rewind the clock about 1 decade ago. Sitting in a small dorm room at Harvard University, Mark Zuckerberg birthed the phenomenon that we all know as Facebook. From those humble beginnings, over 1 billion people are now connected through what we call the social graph via Facebook. Now, it's the largest social graph on the planet, and Facebook went on to have the largest tech IPO in history, valued at close to $100 billion. Well, that all sounds great, but what does it have to do with you might be thinking? Well, that's a great question, and here's the answer. Did you ever consider who built Facebook? And no, we don't mean the people who wrote the code or came up with the idea, but the people who distributed it. The people who are responsible for all the other things being there. The people who made Facebook worth $100 billion. How did that happen? And the answer is you. It happened because of you. Whether you know it or not, if you're on Facebook, you are partly responsible for the mega money Facebook is now worth. Facebook was built by us, the people. It was person to person to person, how Facebook was shared across the world. And the power of that one-to-one connection equaled over 1 billion people in just a single decade. Now, do you remember some of those other companies we mentioned at the beginning too? Zynga, the makers of Farmville, Angry Birds, from Ravio, Pinterest, Pandora, Foursquare, Instagram. Guess how these companies all became worth billions? Guess how their apps or their games spread to hundreds of millions of people? You guessed it, it was you. You see, the fastest growing tech companies in the world today are leveraging the social graph that's already been built. They plug into the network that we, the people, have created. And because it's so easy to share person to person to person through our mobile phones or the internet, these companies are reaching record amounts of users and record valuations in record times. But what if you actually knew how much your word of mouth sharing was worth? What if transparency actually existed in how your social graph spread, so you could see what your ripple effect on the world actually is? Well, currently there's absolutely no way for any of us to know how many people are on Facebook because we are. We don't know if by joining Facebook and inviting some friends we haven't connected to in a while resulted in 10, 100, or 10,000, or even 10 million people being on the site. We have no transparency. And because we can't see it, we don't know how much value we're creating for these companies. Heck, I started inviting people to Facebook myself about 6 years ago. I can't count how many people I've invited or what the ripple effect could have been. There honestly might have been 1 million people using the site because I was. And guess what? If that were true, that means that I helped create $100 million of value for Facebook. And that's no small lunch. And this is when the idea was born that we instantly knew would change the landscape of this massive industry and potentially change the lives of millions of people around the planet on top of it. What if you could see how your social graph, i.e. your ripple effect, spread anytime you shared an app, a product, a service, a website, or technology? And what if you got rewarded for the value that takes place inside of your ripple? In other words, what if you were the most valued part of the technology equation? And that's what days away from rolling out this new technology around the world. Now keep in mind that only a hand-chosen few like yourself have been selected to be behind the velvet ropes during this launch process. Now this video is going to be short, but it's going to cover some very important things that are essential for you so that you can capitalize on our massive rollout. So please take out a paper and a pen and get ready to take notes. Now if you're not in a place where you can focus and concentrate on this video, then please pause it and find somewhere that you can be alone. Okay, are you ready? Because the rest of this video needs to stay between us, and I mean that. Because if I reveal too much or too little before it's ready, then it could affect the massive rollout that you're now a part of. Now there are 3 things I'm going to share with you right now, and as I go through these, please write them down. Watch a short 3-minute and 16-second cartoon that's going to explain the core concept in this NDA phase, and start building your ripples now before the rest of the world is privy to what we are doing. Because when we go live, you will profit from everyone you invited into this phase and the ripples that they've built. But first, I want to show you the trailer video that will be leaked to the world on launch day. Now this video will reveal for the very first time exactly what rippling is. Now
Let me ask you a quick question. When you first heard about Facebook, how many people did you tell? Was it 10, 20, 30 people? How about Twitter or Instagram or Angry Birds? If you're like most people, then it probably went a little something like this. You had a great experience with a new product or service, and so you decided to tell a bunch of your friends, fans, or followers. For numbers' sake, let's just say you told 7 people. Then those 7 people each got excited and shared it with 7 of their friends. Then those friends each started sharing it with their friends, and it keeps growing from there. And just like when you throw a stone in the middle of a calm lake, that one action you started quickly creates a ripple that expands until it consumes the whole lake. Now this is what we call the ripple effect. Those 7 people you told quickly became 49 people by your second ripple, 343 people by your third ripple, 2,401 by your fourth, and by your 5th level, you've already reached over 16,000 people, and it keeps growing from there. And that's if you just told 7 people. Imagine how big of a ripple you created the last time you got excited by a new product. It's crazy how much business you unknowingly brought to these companies. Even though you didn't know it at the time, you created a massive ripple. This form of viral word-of-mouth marketing has made the owners of Facebook, Instagram, and Angry Birds, and other companies you know very, very rich. But what about you? Wasn't it you that helped them to spread that message? Are you curious about how many people learned about those companies because you started a ripple effect? Doesn't it make sense that you should get paid for all of the customers that you brought to them? Just imagine what would have happened if a game like Angry Birds would have paid you 50 cents or $1 every time anyone in your entire ripple downloaded it. How much money would you have made sharing just that one game? But think about how many books, apps, and websites that you and your friends have shared over the last month. Doesn't seem quite fair, does it? You're doing all the marketing and the sales for these companies. They're making hundreds of millions, and in some cases billions of dollars from your efforts, yet you get nothing. Well, a little while ago, we asked ourselves these 2 important questions. First, when I started Ripple, how far does it go? And second, why aren't I getting paid from the ripple effect that I'm causing for these companies? These 2 questions kept us up at night. And at first, they made us angry, and then curious, and then a little excited. And that's why we created Rippling. It's a simple way to not only track your Ripple, but to get paid for it